Rimuru collapsed. And just like that, unable to maintain his human form, he reverted to his slime state. The ones who witnessed this were Guy, Velzard, Baldor, Milim, Chloe, the newly arrived Luminous, and Benimaru, who was taking command of the entire army from a short distance away. Inside the suspended world, even Hinata could not move. Inevitably, those who had not reached that realm could not even perceive the reality that time had stopped. They stood frozen, unable to do anything. A short distance away, battle lines were being reformed against the trio of Jahel, Cornu, and Vega. Since they were fully occupied with that situation, even Diablo failed to notice the anomaly occurring with Rimuru. Benimaru rushed over to Rimuru and supported his slime body. Following him, Chloe, and then Milim, drew near and called out to him with all their mental might. However, there was no response. Veldanava must have done something, but no one could understand the principle behind it. Even Guy could only recognize the fact that the soul had vanished from Rimuru's body. I am surprised. It seems this Rimuru fellow also possessed a fragment of Lucia. Veldanava said. What shimmered and shone above his hand was Rimuru's soul. Guy observed it. It was that strong, beautiful radiance that had captivated Diablo and the others. However, right now, it somehow felt lacking in strength. It was endlessly cold and tranquil. Luminous spoke with frustration. If time does not flow, one cannot use resurrection magic, or any magic at all for that matter. There is nothing to be done. Once released from the concept of time, all laws and rules become different. Those unaccustomed to fighting in accordance with this are unable to be of any use. Luminous found that frustrating. Even if Twilight's memories were to return, there was nothing the current Luminous could do. That was not limited to Luminous. It was the same for Benimaru. Surveying the whole situation and issuing appropriate orders was Benimaru's specialty. However, right now, that ability was worthless. Within this suspended world, those who could move were the minority. Lord Rimuru. Though he called out desperately, there was no reply, and a sense of despair began to seep into Benimaru's heart. Without the pillar known as Rimuru, they were endlessly powerless. He was being made to painfully realize this once again. He had constantly trained himself so that he wouldn't have to rely on Rimuru, but it was meaningless if he couldn't perform at a time like this. Benimaru shed tears at his own powerlessness. Chloe gripped her sword tight. Give him back. She had come this far. A happy and ideal future was supposed to be realized very soon. Despite that, she could not afford to lose Rimuru here. Even within stop time, Chloe can fight. Chloe Aubert, the strongest hero, did not possess a fragile spirit that would give up here. She did not feel she could beat Veldanava. Alone, that is. I will not forgive this either. Milim also stood up and ready to sir. I will cooperate. Velzard had not given up either. And the strongest demon lord was still alive and well. Good grief, what a bunch of idiots. Even we are forbidden from directly interfering with the soul. To do so without any restrictions is going too far. Guy was ready to do this from the start. Thus, Chloe, Milim, Velzard, and Guy, these four stood in Veldanava's way, but then, an out-of-place laughter roared out. Kuhahaha. Do not be flustered. It was Valdor. Everyone's anger was about to turn toward Valdor, but, at that moment, an event occurred that shocked everyone. Rimuru, who was being held by Benimaru, effortlessly woke up. After a brief pause, I awoke. It felt as though I had been daydreaming. Or rather, while I was flailing about in my struggle, I realized before I knew it that I was being supported by Benimaru, which startled me. I had reverted to my slime form without realizing it, making it a double surprise. With a groan and a stretch, I shifted back into my human form. I stole your soul, yet how is it that you remain unharmed? Oh, it looks like Veldanava is surprised, too. Good, good. If I managed to shock even the creator god, I'd call it a major win on my part. That said, there was no mistaking that this was a dire situation. It was a crisis of the highest order, the likes of which I had never faced before. Why? Because right now, Seal-san is not inside me. No, seriously. When she didn't speak up despite my confusion, I realized her presence was gone. Thinking, I tried throwing a question out, but there was no usual reply. I am seriously in trouble. Or rather, I want to cry. This is the first time since my reincarnation that I've felt this forlorn. It's only natural to be anxious. To begin with, Seal-san was the one appropriately managing the vast majority of my authorities. The fact that Seal-san is gone means that I can no longer handle them. Facing Veldanava, an unprecedented enemy, I have become an utterly powerless existence. Asking me not to despair would be asking the impossible. And there is another thing. Regarding the current me, there is actually a suspicion that I am a fake. Seal-san was perfectly assimilated with my soul. We were an inseparable, complete union. Since that was stolen, there is a high probability that the current me is just the remaining dregs. Well, considering I still have my ego despite my soul being stolen, I suppose I was lucky in that regard, but I can't exactly claim this situation is safe. I already figured out and understood what happened. My consciousness only vanished for an instant before my current ego woke up. Yes, inside Valdor. Valdor and I are connected via a soul corridor, creating a state where we hold backups of each other. Veldanava's attack this time was a multi-dimensional continuous attack, designed to seal even those kinds of cheat tricks, but a miracle occurred right there. The moment my soul was about to be stolen from within Valdor, only my core, my ego, was kicked out. And so, I was left behind inside Valdor. In that state, it seemed like there was nothing I could do, and I almost started worrying, now, what should I do? But then, in my struggle, I came up with an idea. Yes, I remembered with the brazen thought process of someone determined to survive at all costs. Wait, don't I have a pseudo-soul? Since I thought of it, I had to try it. I got Valdora to cooperate and projected my pseudo-soul into my limp slime body. By projecting my consciousness into it, I magnificently achieved my revival. This was all only possible because I had evolved into a digital nature and information life form. I sensed immediately that Seal-san had saved me in that split second. Because otherwise, there's no way to explain it. And I feel like she said something to me at the very end. You, Master, are the strongest. I think that is what was said, but that trust was too heavy for the current me. An ex-salaryman is different from a battle junkie race. My honest feeling is that I only want to fight battles I can win, and I want to run away from situations where I'm likely to lose. Don't be unreasonable, that was my unvarnished true sentiment. I am grateful she saved me, but still. Without Seal-san, I think I only have about the same combat ability as Gopta. Sure, since I can currently move within the suspended world I'm better off than Gopta, but still. I can't use my authorities properly, and to top it off, my soul is a fake. While I pride myself on being the real deal regarding my ego, it wouldn't be strange for others to treat me as an impostor. What exactly can I do in such a state? Just as I was feeling weak-spirited, I felt Benimaru's gaze. He was relieved by my safety, believing in the unreliable me without a shadow of a doubt. I could feel those emotions from his gaze. Good grief. All I can do is bluff and act tough. Even so, I want to answer that trust, don't I? Thinking that, I stood up on my own 2 feet once again. I readied my sword again. Then, paying no mind to the stop time, I placed my will onto the information particles and spoke. Surprise, aren't you? You seemed somewhat confident, but did you think you'd already won? Too bad. You can't defeat this me with an attack of that level. I taunted Veldanava. If I provoke him and make him lose his cool, I might be able to find a chance of victory. Betting on that slim possibility, I intended to try everything I possibly could. Veldanava remained silent. He seemed slightly irritated, but his emotions didn't appear to be wavering that much. Actually, it looks like he is observing the soul he stole from me. Rimuru-san, are you really okay? Rimuru, are you not pushing yourself? Chloe and Melom asked worriedly, but this was a scene where I had no choice but to act tough. I'm totally fine. More importantly, you guys, Veldanava's attack seems to be a direct interference with the soul, so defenses are completely meaningless. As a countermeasure, keep your distance. If he touches you, it's over. The activation condition is likely physical contact. Even through a sword, that attack would likely activate. To begin with, it depends on one's interference power over information particles, but long-range attacks are difficult while time is stopped. It's sad that I can't assert that you're safe as long as you aren't touched, but it's better than losing without knowing why. At the very least, it was a technique that wouldn't work on me anymore. So, the optimal solution here is for me to become the sacrifice and gather information. So with that said, I will take him on. Saying that, I stepped forward in front of Veldanava. Kwahahaha. If we leave it to Rimuru, it's as good as won. As if. Valdora has always had way too much faith in me. Melom is the same. They don't seem to think even for a fragment of a second that I might lose. Especially Valdora, he should have realized that I'm a fake. Well, there's a bad side to me for stubbornly acting tough, too. Hahaha, just leave it to me. Even now, I responded with a laugh. However, I must not forget to remind him. Valdora-kun. What is it? If I lose, I'm leaving the rest to you. Kuhahaha. That is an amusing joke. Valdora laughed as he said that. Then, switching his thought communication so only I could hear, he conveyed something important. Rimuru. Apart from you, who can move without a soul, no one can defeat my brother. Therefore, if you do not win, it means we also lose. Don't be unreasonable. I'm just a middle-aged ex-salaryman who can't do anything without Seal-san. Anxiety swirled within my heart. However, I could not let that show on the outside. If a leader becomes weak-spirited, those who follow will fall into confusion. Besides, I didn't want to betray everyone's feelings. Valdor had, after all, realized that I was a fake without a soul. Yet, despite that, he placed absolute trust in me. Just how much is he overestimating me? For the current me, that was both a joy and a burden. Guy and Velzard stood ready to watch my moves without saying a word. However, since they have no means to counter Veldanava's attack, they likely believe Valdor is correct. It was a troublesome situation. It's happened many times before, but this time, it really is just me alone. Without Seal-san, my reliable partner, I have to challenge this lonely battle. Honestly speaking, it was quite depressing. I want to run away, but running away has no meaning. Since I have to do it, I won't break my aggressive stance until the end. That is my pride, and my way of life. Well, I'll give it my best shot. With a bitter smile, I pointed my sword at Veldanava. It was at that moment. Rimuru-sama, you don't have to force yourself. Those were Benimaru's words, worried about me. Hearing that, my heart skipped a beat. It felt like he had seen right through me, just as I was trying to look cool. Benimaru continued. The current Rimuru-sama reminds me of yourself back when you were trying to charge straight at the Orc Lord. The foolish you who tried to challenge an opponent you absolutely couldn't beat, knowing full well it was impossible. Benimaru. It's okay not to act tough. We have no intention of making you shoulder everything. If it's hopeless, then it's hopeless. We won't resent you for it. I looked back at Benimaru and laughed to hide my embarrassment. Ha, was it obvious? Of course, wasn't it? Back then, I was also straining myself as the next head of the clan. I can understand Rimuru-sama's feelings at least a little bit. I felt as though a weight had been lifted from my spirit. As expected, having someone who understands you is enough to fill one's heart. Those who stand at the top are sometimes lonely. But, if there are companions you can trust. I no longer feel like I am alone. Even without my partner, Seal-san, I was able to believe that I was not isolated. Pushed forward by my conversation with Benimaru, I regained my courage. With this momentum, I would take on Veldanava or, so I psyched myself up, but misfortune arrives suddenly. Look out. Dodge it, Rimuru. Before the thought communication from Chloe and Milam could reach me, Benimaru had moved. Soundlessly, without even a presence, the sword flew. To protect me from that threat, Benimaru stepped forward to cover me. He caught the sword with his beloved blade, Crimson Lotus, but against a Genesis-class opponent, it was hopelessly insufficient. Crimson Lotus shattered in an instant, and Veldanava's sword pierced Benimaru's chest. I had been completely off guard. And this is the result.